Hi, everyone. I'm Jack Johnson,
I'm Jill Johnson.
and welcome to the We Bought a Franchise podcast. Today, we've got a very unique guest, Robert Dean, who owns, I don't know, Robert, how many Naturals to Go vending machines did we just decide you owned?
Yeah, we have 8 full-time routes, so I'm not sure how many machines it is, but it would be well in excess of 500. And we do a lot of things other than vending, self-checkout markets and things like that. So we have quite a few of those as well.
Oh,
Awesome.
cool.
Welcome to the show. So Robert, this is really interesting because most of the time, we're talking to traditional franchise owners. We own a window washing, power washing franchise, and now we're doing like a ton of paper sealing.
Paper
Like
sealing.
it's so
Right?
weird.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The things you do in your life that like 2 years ago, if someone would have said, "Hey, wait do you see you're going to be doing all these paper sealing jobs in a couple of years?" I'd have been like, "What do
I
you?"
don't even know if I knew what paper sealing was a year ago.
Yeah, and now it's like our favorite thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually know what it is. I think it's great.
Life is weird. Yep.
It's funny how that happens. But Robert, let's start with you. Tell us your story. How did you become a business owner? Kind of give us your path, if you will.
I grew up in the corporate world, worked for a large insurance and financial services company. Ended up running the Northeast United States for them for about 15 years. And the older you get and the more employees you get, that ended up being topping out at about 29,000 employees. Then things start happening in your life. I had some grandkids, sick parents, things like that. So the constant traveling, hotel room every night, all the employees, it really kind of led me into wanting to do something entrepreneurial. So I put a year's notice in at my job and, started looking at doing, various things. I looked at virtually, not everyone, but most franchises and business opportunities that I could find before I settled in.
And here you are now with this business, and I see people. I mean, it seems like every week we're seeing people invest in these machines.
Right.
And I get it. I mean, I think there's many reasons why someone would invest into the vending business. So many benefits, not just the revenue. A lot of people seem to think it's like a passive investment. I'm sure it's not quite that, but maybe speak to what it's been like for work-life balance. And maybe what would be great to hear is, you own so many machines now, but I'm assuming it didn't start that way, right?
No, it didn't start that way. And interestingly enough, I think with any wannabe entrepreneur, you kind of have to find the right fit for yourself. And in me looking at all of the franchises and business opportunities, vending was a good fit for a few reasons. The first thing in my job is that we would build a $20 million facility, and someone would bring a $200 vending machine into the place that never worked. At that time, didn't have cashless payments. It was always broken and dirty. And the number one complaint I would get being at that level of executive in our facilities wasn't all of the things you think it was. It wasn't that someone didn't get a $10 million commission check. It was that the vending machines never worked and that they were all junk food, and just so many complaints about that. So when I started thinking about doing something on my own, it was a good personality fit for a few reasons. Firstly, I'm a foodie, food and beverage person. Italian heritage, grandparents, been cooking since I was probably 5 years old. So I had a, love for food and beverage to begin with. Fairly handy, so I can, as I say, I can turn a screwdriver fairly well. And back then I was a little bit of a techie. I'm not so much anymore. It's been a long time now, but I was a little bit of a techie. And the interesting thing that led me into the business was that Naturals2Go had an idea, and that idea was to make to make a vending machine that was fairly dumb. This vending machine here speak to an Android device, and it didn't exist at the time. Back then, 2012, 2013, even cashless payments were rare.
Hmm.
But the vending machines were kind of dumb on their own in that they didn't have any way to communicate. And basically, the technology at that time didn't work at Naturals2Go, but it was the right idea. And I thought, wow, if I can get a hold of this tech, I can probably make this work. I'm not sure why it isn't working, but once again, being a little bit of a techie and super handy and good at electronics and electricity, kind of thought I could make that work. So, and I thought it would revolutionize the vending industry, which it really has. And in traditional vending, someone walks into a vending location and they open the door. And it's interesting, they'll have a tablet in their hand. They still do it today. They'll count everything in the vending machine,
Hmm.
write it down. They'll walk out to their big box truck and hope that they have it and can pack for it. And they hope that it's not melted, right? And they hope that, once again, they do have the items, etc. But this ability for a vending machine to speak to an Android device, I thought would change the industry, where the vending machine could actually speak to me on a consistent minute by minute basis and let me know what was going on. How is the vending machine? How is the health of it? What products are in there? What products are empty, right? And the ability to kind of, for the lack of a better term, babysit my customers' vending machines created such a tremendous experience. In addition to that, when there was a problem, in traditional vending, everyone put a sticky note on the vending machine. I'm Joe Smith. You owe me $1. You sucked another
Hmm.
$2 out of me. You owe me a quarter. You still see that today. But the ability also to rectify those situations where you would know immediately if there was an issue. Someone could touch a few buttons on the Android device bolted to the vending machine. You could send the money right back to the vending machine or a coupon to their phone. So there were so many things that intrigued me about this technology. Once again, it didn't work, but now through research and development and good technology partners, we're on our 7th version of these devices, and
Wow.
things really work well now. So it really changed the industry and made this what we call the vending or break room experience much better for the customer than it used to be.
So when you wake up in the morning, you've got, or anytime you want to look at it, you've got a full dashboard that tells you everything that's going on with your machines. You've got all that data at your fingertips.
Everything. It's on my tablet, my notebook, my PC, my mobile phone. It's everywhere. So, and it's easily accessible and very accurate today.
And I'm sure you're seeing what we are. So we have a CRM system for our Pink's window washing franchise, and
Hmm.
constantly same sort of thing. I've got my dashboard. I'm able to see our jobs when they're completed. I can see the hours of the guys that they're working, and I can track revenue. But if I really just want to make it simple, we've got an AI function in the CRM where I can just say, hey, how much have we billed this week? How much are we going to bill? How much are we going to bill? And it can come back to me with
Right.
that data very quickly, which is super.
And if you think about that technology and you think about the vending business in general today, 90% of the operators in the United States and globally for that matter are still using a tablet, counting it, don't have the communication with the vending machine. So the industry itself is very backward, and most of the competition still doesn't use the technology to even a low extent. So it really makes there isn't much competition in what we do because everyone still doesn't have it. The vending business is so old that there's just so many older operators, antiquated equipment, no tech, can't be retrofitted to tech. So it's a real competitive advantage for us.
I'll never forget when I was maybe 12 years old. My dad and I went to Costco, which at the time was called Price Club, and they had a vending machine. You could buy like your own vending machine.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that.
And he's like, hey, I've got an idea for your first business. We're going to buy this vending machine. Now, it
Yeah,
never came to fruition, but I'll always remember that because prior to that, and in the schools, we'd always have, the beat up old vending machines like the ones you talked about, the one the
right.
Snickers bar would get
It
stuck
would
in.
get stuck in the little coil and we couldn't get
Well,
it. Or you'd push the wrong, J3 and you get the wrong thing.
Right. That sucked.
Yeah.
But that was the moment that it really became clear to me that no, this is a business. And then as we got deeper into the business ownership world, the advantages, not only from a revenue standpoint, were there, but also from the tax saving standpoint with Section
sure,
179.
absolutely.
I mean, that in itself is a strategy to own vending, right?
Well, it certainly is, and it's interesting to take a step back that you mentioned, buying a vending machine at Sam's Club or at Costco or whatever.
Mhm.
And I obviously looked at that when I started, but there were some significant disadvantages to that. First of all, someone dropping a vending machine on my front porch.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do with it? I
Where do you
can't
get it
move it
anywhere?
around.
Right.
I don't know where to put it. I don't know how to program it. I don't know how to fix things. I don't know how to work it, right? So the advantage I felt with Naturals to Go, kind of a business in a box, was pretty simple. Naturals2Go said, look, we've got very good vending machines, which they did. We have tech started that we think is going to revolutionize the industry, but it wasn't there yet. But one of the biggest things was white glove delivery and training. Not only would they bring me into training, which I was skeptical about, thinking I'm a pretty sharp guy who can teach me anything right at that time. But the training was just tremendous. I mean, it was tremendous, and I couldn't have done it without it. And then the ability for Naturals2Go to kind of work the movement of these 800-900 pound vending machines around for me with big guys with big toys, they say, with the big trucks, right? And that training and the ability to get those things around really got me started. From a tax perspective, the vending business really is math. I mean, to start off, you can buy something for $1 and sell it for $2 in about 4 days. So me with an accounting degree, the math works pretty good with this. But then when you get into the tax savings, it's pretty significant because the business, as we say, requires a lot of iron, it requires a lot of equipment, right? And the tax advantages and depreciation in Section 179 really enable you to manage the taxation every year. And it's really, depreciation in these vending machines, they last forever. I mean, I don't have one vending machine that I've ever had to throw away, and it's been 15 years. So they last a long time, but you're able to accelerate that depreciation with 179, of course, to offset income. It's a very good business for tax strategies, no question about it.
So you can take that 179 all in the first year if you want, right? Or you can amortize it. Is it over 7 years?
You
Do
can
I have
do
that
either.
right?
You can do either. And most people like to take it all in year one, but it
Yeah.
also, depends if you're buying vans and vehicles and, so depreciation expense management it's very good benefit to the business, but it takes some care.
Yeah. Well, and especially, I mean, we have clients that's part of the strategy, right? It's like you start with a business like ours. So we're franchise consultants first. That's our first business. We help
Right.
people become franchise owners and buy businesses like Naturals2Go. So we grow franchise insiders to a point where, okay, now we're starting to pay a lot of money in taxes. Let's add another business. And then we added our Pink's Windows franchise. And while it's been, highly successful and we have such a good team, we were able to be their top franchisee last year, but it was still a business in its first year that we spent a lot of money on. So yeah, so you had a loss in the business. Well, the accountant says to us, great news, guys. This loss you have in the business now mitigates the
Right.
profit you had in franchise insiders.
Sure.
God bless America.
Absolutely. Hey, it is the tax law, and we do things honestly, but we take it to the extent of the law, and to the advantages that you can have.
Well, and the nice thing is too, putting all political, sides aside here for the purpose of the podcast, but the way the current tax structure is written, it's in for all of us business owners, we should be going out there and making as much money as we can. Because again, like you said, staying within the letter of the law, it's in our favor. The right now, the way tax laws are written favors the business owner. So to have a business like yours that not only is profitable and works for your portfolio, but also comes with these tax advantages right out of the door. I mean, it's incredible.
No question about it. Yeah.
So let's talk about your first year. This is really where we like to break it down because, people, as they start to think about investing, you've got, Bob Smith, who's out there listening to this podcast and,
Right.
He's a busy executive, but he's got this burning desire to diversify.
Right.
What advice would you have to that person who maybe isn't ready to leave their full-time job, but wants to start diversifying and adding another revenue stream? What was it like for you when you started?
Well, I think the first thing that I had to analyze, as does everyone, is time. Most people seem to want an absentee business, right? They want to continue to keep their job. They want something completely absentee. And of course, I looked at that as well. I looked at a donut franchise right before I got into Naturals2Go. The questions came to me, well, if, Susie doesn't show up to make the donuts in the morning at 4 a.m., I have to go do that, right? And, to think that things are really absentee and going to work well, I just never believed in that, right? So the first is time, and some people view the vending business as absentee or semi-absentee, right? That it's just easy, right? It's only semi-absentee and easy if you have low performing locations, right? Because these locations need replenished. And the better you do at securing customers, the more frequently they need serviced, right? So vending is not something that you you take every couple of weeks, I can go see a customer. The machines are empty in 3 days because of what we
Hmm.
do. So in looking at that initially, I knew that it was going to be more work than people said it was going to be, especially to do it right and to continue to develop business and all of that. So the first thing I think anyone has to determine is how much time really with your full-time job can you put into this on your own? Or do you need some support system or help, family, friends, employee, whatever it might be.
Mhm.
So when I got into this, I started fairly small, but it was the largest thing that Naturals2Go had ever seen because I'm one of the first people to ever buy a business opportunity from Naturals2Go.
Cool.
And I bought 30 units at first. And, Naturals2Go said, wow, 30 units, it's, fairly big. But I really knew that those 30 units would take a lot of time to do well. And to try to do things world class was going to be different than just, what the competition was doing. So, and there are a lot of mistakes that got made along the way. The biggest mistake that I made was when I got into this, I wanted to do healthy vending.
Mhm.
And I took that to an extreme, right? I didn't want to sell Pop Tarts and Mountain Dew. So I ended up trying to sell organic kale chips, right? And organic candy. And I really took it to
Mhm.
the extreme. And it failed miserably. Like it just
Sure.
didn't fly. As they say, the dogs wouldn't eat it, right? But the equipment was so good and the service platform that I call premium vending with world-class service, their service was tremendous. Everything worked. The everything was spotlessly clean, serviced frequently, monitored. So I had a lot of customers come to me and say, "Can't you just do everything? Like, look at these other vending machines we have in here. It's all junk food, we know, but we don't want to have a mutiny here if we just do health food." And so I decided and gave in on a few customers, said, look, why don't we do everything? And why don't we do 50-50? Can you agree on 50-50? If someone wants to buy a Mountain Dew bottle this great, this big, they're going to be able to do it. But I still want healthy choices in here.
Sure.
And got some agreements to do that. And ever since we adopted that 50-50 platform, it's just been tremendous. So the junk food is bad alone. The healthy vending alone is not good. But that combination of having very smart choices has really fueled our company and Naturals2Go that, all the operators across the country have
And
adopted.
you can make those changes fairly quickly, right? So you can look at your data and see what's selling out and what's not, and then be able to swap it out. So you can be pretty like quickly reactive, but also proactive if you need to be, and test maybe a certain product or something like that, because you have that data coming to you. So I think
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
really
with
cool.
these devices now speaking to the vending machine, it
Yeah,
gives us the data that no one ever had, right?
yeah,
And we don't have to guess. So, it takes about 9 seconds to run that report called an item movement to see what's moving
that's
and
so
run it
cool.
for the last month or two or three and see. And it tells you, if an item's not moving, I consider every row of a vending machine its own store. And
Hmm.
it's, it's its own profit center, right? So if that coil is not moving product, you've got to try something else. And the other thing that helps is just listening to the customer. I mean, most of our competition, if you looked at all of their vending machines, it's the same product in row one, row two, row three. It's the same in every location,
Hmm.
irregardless of demographics, what customers want. It's just the same products. And we're a little bit crazy. We have 1,000 products. It's interesting. I tell this story a lot, kind of changed my philosophy as to what you're asking about putting the right products in that people want. Early in the business, I guess I was about four years into the business, and I walked into a Starbucks. And, I'm really a big time guy. I'm going to go into Starbucks and get a black coffee. I'm
Hmm.
probably going to get a big black coffee, right? Venti, whatever they call it. I'm going to get a coffee. And there's a girl
I
in
always
front of
get it
me.
confused. I
Vending.
always get the names
Okay,
confused.
so
Yeah,
there it
yeah,
is.
yeah. There you go. So there was a girl in front of me, very attractive, appeared to be 24, 25 years old, maybe a student. And she orders this drink in front of me that I have no clue what that is. She orders a hookah juka mocha latte, 2 whip, no squirt, whatever, oat, whatever,
Hmm.
right? And it's this long, long recipe. And I had a chance to talk to her after I got my coffee while she was waiting for hers. And I said, hey, I'm in the food and beverage business and I'm interested in what you ordered. And she said, hey, people today, especially my generation, they want what they want and we're
Hmm.
willing to pay for it, but we want what we want. And if we can't get it in one place, we'll go somewhere else. And, that led on to our company being now that if we have an employee in a manufacturing concern that wants a Bang Cherry Blade energy drink with, creatine in it and extra electrolytes. Like, we're going to put it in because they're going to buy
Hmm.
one every day. So the whole market of food and beverage has become real custom, and it just taught us to be very good listeners. And we listen to the customers. They can do it on the machine and make requests, but really we
Yeah,
try to put
that's
in
always good to
products
have.
that people want. Yeah,
That's great.
stay on top of that quite frequently.
It's really interesting. We took my mom to a place
Mhm.
in San Diego called Urban Plates. And Urban Plates, you go and you customize your plate. You choose what meat you want, what salad you want. And for us, it's
I loved
heaven.
it. I'm a picky eater, so
Yeah.
Oh, if you
that
are,
place
yeah,
is
so
my
you know what we
favorite.
mean, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But my mom, born in 1941, walks up to the counter and says, I hate this.
Hmm.
I don't want to I want them to tell me what I should have.
Hmm.
And
Right.
it goes exactly to what you said, is that it seems like the further we go along each generation, because think about it now, we have so many choices in what we can listen to and what we can eat. We can have so much customization. It's incredible. My question for you is, what right now what's the number one thing you're selling? What are people buying from the vending machines? Is there one clear leader or maybe category?
Yeah, I mean, there's not one clear leader. It's a lot of things, and of course, we're pretty good size now. I mean, still to this day, nothing sells like water. So
Right.
it's interesting, but bottled water. But bottled water leads into flavored water and sparkling water, right? And it leads into vitamin water, and now it leads into coconut water drinks, right? So, waters are still good sellers. Carbonated beverages, of course, on the more unhealthy side are still super popular. What's happening more though in the vending business for popularity is really becoming real food though. And the real food, especially in our case, we make 700 food items like we're crazy. We do it. Now we do, once again, micro markets and some things we can get into. But really in vending, for really good installations where, employees today don't want to leave and their employers don't want them to leave. It's inefficient to go out for lunch in traffic in an hour and a half, right? They want to be at work, but they want to be home for the soccer game, right? So they want to get finished. But oftentimes in now vending, one of the biggest complaints and threads of discontent was the food is assembly line processed prison food. You know,
Hmm.
People called it rot gut. I mean, if you can imagine the comments we got. But now in taking vending and really supplying good food that people can use as a meal, we call it, so they don't have to have Cheez-Its for lunch. Our company now sells about 38,000 meal items a month that would not be snacks. So if you think about that, people now in the workplace want good food. They want custom made food. They want good food that we can buy and resell. So a lot of it now has morphed from junk snacks into real food, and
Yeah.
it's really taken off over the last 5 or 6 years.
I was making breakfast for our son this morning, and
Thank you for doing
of
that.
course, and I made him, two scrambled eggs. We get these protein pancakes from Costco that have more
Yeah,
protein, and fruit. And I put the plate in front of him. He says, "Dad, you're crazed. You're obsessed with protein." And I said, "You're damn right. I'm obsessed with protein. It's good for you. You're growing.
right.
You need it to build strength." So my question for you is, for people, can we get heavier protein items out of the vending machines now? What kind of products are you selling there?
Yeah, so we have a whole array of protein products, mostly in bar form, and
Hmm.
many different ones. Right, there's a lot of popular ones there, and then also in liquid form. So it is the protein shakes and all of that. When we're doing specific vending for athletics, it's super heavy. That when we're in
Sure.
universities and we're in high schools and we're back by the sports facilities, we have specific sports vending that we do. But in most of the general vending, the marketplace still wants protein bars. They want protein shakes, and the sales of that seems to increase every month. Once people try those as an alternate to a candy bar,
Hmm.
and whether it's a Cliff Bar, it's a Fit Cruncher, it's a Premier Protein. I mean, it could go on and on with the choices that we have, and a lot more meat snacks too. To think that now we sell bags of organic beef jerky that are really big in vending machines, and they sell, and they're
Hmm.
expensive, but they really sell. So the meat snack options and high protein options, once people try them, it seems like they'll opt for that more often than the candy. So we've seen a good trend in that.
Cool. So I'm assuming you probably do a fair amount of validation where prospective Naturals to Go owners talk to you. I know we do for Pinks, no, once a month, something like that.
Hmm.
We're talking to prospective franchise owners normally on like a big group call. Is that something you do too?
Yeah, I mean, I used to do a lot more of it. Now it's just lack of time, you know.
Yep.
Try to get more people together to kind of get to me maybe once a month on a more of a kind of a Zoom, right, than a lot of individual calls. And it's
So
interesting. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, no, you go ahead.
Well, and it's interesting, they people that are getting into Naturals to Go or into vending come from all different walks of life and all different objectives with their life. Some want to stay very small and want it kind of as a side gig, we say, right? And some want
Right.
to know how to take it to a major employer or a regional powerhouse. And, they're every way in between. The business is very scalable. So it's interesting, when you do one-on-one conversations, it's easier to focus on that person that's trying to fund their child's education, but they're not necessarily want to hire 50 people over time.
Hmm.
Then you get
Right.
those people that really want to do it. So the business is very, very scalable, super profitable when you're small. You don't have infrastructure, employees can do it out of your house. It's very profitable. When you're large like I am, it's super profitable. In the middle, it's a little bit tough. When you're starting to get to that spot where I have to quit my job or I have
Hmm.
Hmm.
to hire employees, buy big vans, a warehouse. Now I'm in employee benefits, workers' compensation insurance. So that middle land in vending, and I'm assuming with most of the businesses that you represent as well, it's a tough spot to be in. So you have to blow
Yes.
through that middle. You either have to stay small, or get pretty serious about this.
I mean, again, I think it's like we bought 5 units of our franchise, right? So we bought all of Palm Beach. We initially started with two, and then we got real nervous, right? We were like, what if somebody buys? We bought Boca Raton and Delray Beach, and then we said, well,
Right.
what if somebody comes along and buys Palm Beach? And we're like, we want to be able to clean Mar-a-Lago one of these days, right? So we
Right.
better buy the other 3 units. So we
Right.
spent a lot of money on franchise fees, which impacted our first year profitability. And also because of the scale of the business, we have a GM who he's great. His close rate is like 80% now. But like you said, it's we're kind of growing towards the company we want to be, because our whole vision for this was we want to scale to 15 trucks. You want your truck doing $1,000 a day. That's what you want a window washing truck to do.
Right.
Um, but it means that in the beginning, as you're growing there, you're pumping a lot of cash into the business to
Right.
to get it where it needs to go. And someone sent me a message last night, and they asked me a question that the way people talk, right? When was the point? When was the inflection point when it all changed? And I said, I don't look at it like that. I look at it more like Rocky Balboa. It's just how long can you stay in the fight and take punches until you can finally throw the haymaker?
You're right about that. You're right. That's just the way it is. I mean, so I think you're right about that. You have to stay in the fight, until you get to that scale that you need to be based on what your objectives are for sure.
Yeah. So I know if I were talking to you as a prospective investor, and I don't know, Jill, what your thought would be, but mine would be, okay, I'm curious. If I'm looking at this as a someone who maybe is going to scale in with one or two machines, but what if I'm a corporate executive and I do okay, right? Like let's say I do 100, 200K a year.
Hmm.
And I want to make this my full-time thing, understanding that I won't get there overnight. Is there a path to me doing that as a vending machine owner? And that would be a question I would ask you without, having to talk about any real specific numbers. But do you
Right.
think is that attainable? Is that something someone could do?
Yeah, it's attainable. You just have to know how to scale. And when you scale infrastructure, you have to scale equipment and locations at the same time. It just has to be the same, right? You can't get a bunch of infrastructure and not get more customers. They have to go like this.
Hmm.
So once again, when you start and you start with 8 vending machines or 10 vending machines, right? Or maybe you grow to 20 on your own, but then you can't grow to 22. You have to go 20 to 40. If you're going to add infrastructure, you kind of have to double your equipment when you're going
Hmm.
to add a vehicle, a warehouse, employees, etc. And it depends on the market you're in. In this business too, though, it just really depends on the locations that you select. When we get a location, it's just very important to get the right locations. And if you do that, it's a lot easier to scale and get to full time. if you really have busy locations. And if you don't, it's just, the equipment costs the same for a poor location as it does a busy location. It's the exact same equipment cost, right? And you have a choice at that. You can select any place that you want. And the competition is so bad that we can really get pretty much any place that we want today. So not only do you have to scale in equipment and infrastructure at the same time, but you have to be able to select the right customer relationships. Very, very, very important in this business. I mean, I'm sure it is with any business, but in
Hmm.
this one, it's especially important. And everybody's got a different path. Everybody asks that same question. Well, if I want to do this, what do I have to do? And every market's different. The individual
Hmm.
business owner is different. Situations are different. So, it's really a custom answer to every individual person. It's not one set thing, but obviously, just like investors or whatever you see, things have to be done within your own personality,
Hmm.
and you have to be able to run this business and grow and scale based on what you think and your own personality is. And that has to match at some point before you really see the light.
How's the support from Naturals to Go? You're in a place where there probably aren't many operators. You correct me if I'm wrong. Many operators at your level within their system. Do you feel like their support scaled along with your needs as you grew?
Well, it's kind of interesting, with me being one of the first, I created a lot of the support that was necessary, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the things that have developed in Naturals to Go really today is an unattended retail company. Vending is a small piece of what we do. It's a big piece of what we do, but it's a small piece as far as the all of the offerings that we have, right?
Hmm.
When you're looking at vending into vending markets, into significant office coffee business or coffee vending. We do self-checkout micro markets now, artificial intelligence vending. We do pantry services. There's just a lot of different things now that we've been able to scale to do. And it's interesting. We just had a training class yesterday. Naturals to Go really takes on, meaning that for training classes, between 30 and 40 new business owners come in every 6 weeks. And I think there was about 40 there here in Savannah over the last couple of days, right? And the initial support is pretty interesting, and the support changes over time. Originally, it's I need training. I need that support of training. Then I need the support of finding locations until I learn my own business development. Then I need support of getting the machines put in place. And then I need a coach for a year or so to kind of guide me along the way until I'm self sustaining, right? Some operators need a lot less support than others. It
Mm-hmm.
just depends, right? It really depends on that old, if it's up to, if it is to be, it is up to me, right? So some
Hmm.
operators need a lot more support and get it, and some operators need a lot less support and start growing.
Yeah.
Once an operator gets to that position where they've been coached, they've gotten through that first year or so, all of their machines are working, and now when they want to go to the next level of support, we have another phase called Naturals to Grow. And now Naturals to
I like
Grow,
that.
consider it, something
Sounds
I
like
built I developed it's, with some folks at Ventec and Naturals to Go, that is a master class. So now we're going to come to graduate school. And we're going to teach you how to do a lot of different forms of unattended retail to expand, especially into the self-checkout markets, which are just a phenomenal food and beverage. COVID killed the cafeteria.
mm-hmm.
COVID killed the cafeteria. So a lot of places that had cafeterias no longer have them, but they have self-checkout markets that are really your own convenience store in your own secure business, but it's all unattended and it's self-checkout. And of course, there's security and things like that. So after an operator gets through that initial phase, the support they need really is now growth support, new kinds of tech and all of that. So we have an entire department that kind of does that. And because it's not a franchise in this case, at Naturals to Go, when an operator buys more equipment, we have some profit, but if they don't, we don't. So we really have to do a good job, along the way to continue to get that customer. They can buy equipment, vending machines from other people, don't have to buy it from us. But our goal is to do such a good job that they continue to want to buy from us and want to innovate with us.
Hmm.
The operator base, though, it's interesting. Like myself, we've invented and developed a lot of these things. When you're on the front lines, Doesn't matter what mother corporate says, when you're really doing it, you
Hmm.
figure a lot of things out. Naturals
Yeah,
to Go is
Yes.
interesting. They're pretty good listeners. They've been good listeners to me for 15 years. So
good.
a lot
You
has
know, the
evolved.
same, I would say the same thing for Pinks. Like, they started in Austin. We were one of their first franchisees, and down here in South Florida, there's a heavier need for power washing than there is in Austin.
Right,
And the deeper we go into summer and things like that, where we just get torrential rains, the more people need it. And
right.
so we were like, guys, we need a heavier duty power washing truck. Are you okay with us testing this for you to roll it out to other franchisees? We'll take the risk, we'll spend the extra money on it. And they were like, yeah, absolutely. And so to have a partner who's collaborative,
Hmm.
and those jobs, by the way, are paying huge dividends for us now, because now, we're seeing it. We can do, you
We can
know,
get it done faster, and
right.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
So I think you're right. And it's fun to be, and not everyone wants to be a trailblazer franchisee. A lot of times they like it when people like us can sort of do that. And then by the time they come in, everything's on a menu. But the thing that I love, and the call we did right before we did this podcast with you, is our weekly Pinks sort of franchisee call, where every single franchise owner, whether you're 2 days old or you're the longest tenured like we are, and or, no, there's two more people that are ahead of us that got in before us, but um, everybody loves it because they throw all our numbers onto the call, and we
Right.
see on a week by week basis who's leading the field. And I just think that that is one of the great things about franchise ownership is, yes, we want to build a business, yes, we want to help people, but if you're competitive, it gives you that extra little jolt every week to want to go out and win too.
Oh, it does. Yeah, no question about it. No question.
Cool. Well, you've been so generous with your time. I have one last question for
Sure.
you, which is, what are the effects of AI on your business currently? What do you guys, how do you think it's going to impact it? Is it making it better, easier? Maybe tell us about that.
Well, the interesting thing is that AI bridges a pretty big gap for us. So when you have a vending machine, right? A vending machine has a closed door, so you can't have theft in that, right? So when you do that, someone does the payment, whatever they're going to do, and it vends, and you have a secure environment. In the micro market business, where we have open air convenience stores within secure
Hmm.
businesses, right? We only do those when the penalty for theft would be expulsion from school or termination of employment. So you have to have that agreement, right? And we do monitor the security cameras, but you can't watch it every single minute
Right.
of every day, especially the bigger you get. So we have those two ends of the spectrum where we have the complete closed door and a complete open door. And what AI has done for us is you know, um, we waited a long time to get the right tech going because the AI in vending didn't work. It was the same as I talked to you about that Android device, right? It just, the tech was a good idea, but it didn't work. And people were trying to use weight and different things where, you could just grab something and it would charge you the right amount. And it didn't know what you were taking and it didn't work. So we developed a lot with our partners in AI over the years that now really bridges a gap. What that gap is that we're able to do non-vending, so a better, I think, a more robust service, artificially with artificial intelligence eyes that when places have public access, right? So if you have a place that doesn't want a vending machine, maybe they think, hey, a vending machine's too tacky for my beautiful high-rise residential, right? But we
Hmm.
still need a store, but we can't have it attended. We lose our shirts. We can't have someone sitting in a store 24 hours. What
Hmm.
can you put in? And in those cases is usually where we do the artificial intelligence vending. And we have beautiful cabinets that we call managed stores. And they have small products and big products. We can do not only food and beverage, but laundry soap and paper towels and things that you need, bigger things, right, for those types of installations. And it's become very accurate now in AI with the use of eyes, of artificial eyes. And basically now the technology has gotten so good that when you do a cashless payment or you scan a card and it unlocks the door and you're able to open it, you can take what you want, look at it. If you keep it, it charges it. If you put it back and take something else, and we've been able to make that 99.999%
Wow.
accurate.
Wow.
And a lot of companies now that aren't using the tech we're using, they're 95% accurate.
Hmm.
And if you think about 1,000 vends, 1,000 people, if you're 95% accurate, you have 50 really upset people. That's not a very good thing. So it has to
Right.
be with AI in food and beverage and unattended retail. It has to be virtually 100% accurate. And now we've got these vending machines and the tech that they're associated with learning over time as well, and learning the absolute everything in the package, the exact color and kind of what you see. So it's made a pretty big difference as well. So AI in our business done right is really a part of the future of vending. AI done wrong is still bad, but
Sure.
we've made some very good strides, and I think over time you'll see more and more AI versus vending machines. You really will.
So could Naturals to Go eventually go, like the at the airport where we're able to walk into like the smaller sort of store with it's unattended, but all the products are there.
Hmm.
Could Naturals to Go eventually go to that route where it's essentially a store, if you will?
We're doing those now. Yeah. Yeah,
It
Oh,
sounds like they have them. Yeah.
so we're doing
wonderful.
those now. We're doing artificial intelligence, self-checkout markets. We're doing a lot of that now. But
Wow.
the technology has just gotten to the spot where we're comfortable with it.
Yeah,
So
That's great.
so we're now
that's
at that spot.
incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is really interesting. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Is there anything before we let you go? Is there anything that we didn't ask that we should have asked?
No, I think you asked a lot of great questions, and once again, I'll just kind of finish that. This world of unattended retail that we're in, we used to call it vending, but this
Hmm.
world of unattended retail, there's really no end in sight for this, and these businesses are really growing, and those that can do it in a world class fashion and really pay attention to the detail can really succeed. If you're not that kind of person, probably not a good business for you.
Yeah.
But I think in the future, doing it the right way in every aspect is really what's going to make it successful. And everywhere you go today, you see self checkout. You
Hmm.
just see it everywhere, and it's not gonna go away. It's going to get bigger. So
Right.
adding that would be a good end to it. And I really appreciate you having me on. It's been a pleasure to be on your podcast.
Awesome. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you.
Same as well.
Well, and thank you so much for spending time. And for everyone that wants to get more information on Naturals to Go, the best way to do it. Text us 305-710-0050. And for today's podcast, I'm Jack Johnson.
I'm Jill Johnson.
All right. See you guys. Thank you.
All
All right.
right.
Take care. Good
Thank
having
you.
you.